He has an Oscar critical acclaim
Academy Award-nominated actor, you know, for such Gladiator and signed. Here's Joaquin Phoenix.
and a reputation for diving into roles with unnerving intensity. But what most people don't know about Joaquin Phoenix is how often he's tried to walk away, again and again.
You're not going to act anymore?
No.
He's come close to quitting the very films that defined his career.
I became obsessed with Ricketts, but it didn't really have a place in the film. I kept trying to get it in. That was the only thing that I wanted, but it just wouldn't work.
Some he was talked into doing. Others he left behind, leaving studios scrambling.
You just ask the same questions every week. How's your job? Are you having any negative thoughts? All I have are negative thoughts.
And directors stunned. Behind the cool detachment and eccentric brilliance lies a man who often tells himself the same thing before the cameras roll. I can't do it.
You ever suffered what in your profession you call nostalgia?
Phoenix's restlessness has always been part of his story, long before Gladiator, before The Joker, before the odd late-night interviews and myth-making performances.
You are a mysterious man. Would you agree with that? Do people find you to be mysterious?
What does that mean?
He'd already seen the cost of fame up close. His brother River died outside the Viper Room in Los Angeles, and Joaquin, barely 20 at the time, was the one who called the emergency services. The trauma left him unsure whether acting was something he wanted to continue with.
River was a really substantial actor and movie star.
He disappeared from the screen for a few years, surfacing again only when Gus Van Sant cast him in To Die For, alongside Nicole Kidman. The performance marked him out as a talent in his own right, and the industry began to whisper about a comeback. But even then, the doubts never went away.
What's so funny?
By the time Ridley Scott came calling with Gladiator, Phoenix was already seen as a serious young actor, but he'd never done anything on that scale.
I think that we knew that, and we were willing to take that risk.
And looking back at it now, was it worth taking the risk?
Yeah, 100%.
Really?
A Roman epic with hundreds of extras, a towering set, and Russell Crowe in full command. It should have been the opportunity of a lifetime, yet on his first day in costume, Phoenix froze.
It's just so humiliating. I knew this was going to happen to me.
Ridley Scott later recalled the moment vividly. He was in his prince's outfit saying, "I can't do it." Crowe, confused and impatient, called it terribly unprofessional.
It was the most terrifying experience I've ever had in my life.
Scott, though, recognized what was really happening. Phoenix wasn't being difficult. He was paralyzed by fear. The enormity of the production, the weight of the role, and the pressure to perform had overwhelmed him.
But I didn't really know if anyone would care, and frankly, I assumed that they wouldn't.
Scott took him aside, calmed him down, and told him they'd take it one step at a time. Phoenix stayed. What followed was one of the defining performances of modern cinema, a portrait of insecurity and cruelty that earned him his first Oscar nomination.
And I'm grateful, but so many of you in this room have given me a second chance. And I think that's when we're at our best.
It also established a pattern that would repeat itself across his career. Whenever the stakes grew higher, the temptation to walk away resurfaced. 2 decades later, when Ridley Scott reunited with Phoenix for Napoleon, the old jitters returned. The film was a vast historical epic, one of the biggest Scott had ever attempted, and Phoenix once again found himself struggling with the scale of it all. Reports circulated that he was unhappy with the script.
Do you go out to dinner with people and sit there and not eat, or you just skip going out?
You don't socialize.
And had threatened to quit unless the director agreed to bring in Paul Thomas Anderson to help refine it. Phoenix had built a close creative bond with Anderson after The Master and trusted him implicitly. Anderson was eventually brought in to workshop scenes and dialogue. Scott later laughed about it, saying that the three of them ended up screaming with laughter in a room together, rewriting and improvising ideas.
We fear the idea of personal change, because we think that we have to sacrifice something to give something up.
It turned out to be one of the few times Phoenix's last-minute panic actually improved the film. The tension that almost drove him to quit had forced everyone to raise their game.
I didn't need kind of adoration. I didn't need people to validate me. It's just something that I felt inside.
But Phoenix's tendency to second-guess himself isn't always so productive. In 2016, he was set to star in M. Night Shyamalan's Split, a thriller about a man with multiple personalities. Everything was in place, and production was only weeks away when Phoenix suddenly pulled out. No public explanation was given, though those close to the project suggested creative differences and discomfort with the tone of the film.
I certainly knew that there was that risk. I'm not sure I have much of a career, and yeah, I got in a lot of trouble for that.
Shyamalan, blindsided, had to find a replacement immediately. James McAvoy stepped in with less than 2 weeks to prepare. The Scottish actor later said he ditched it 2 weeks before they started shooting. It was really last minute. The result was one of McAvoy's best performances, but for Phoenix it was a reminder that walking away can sometimes mean missing out on something great. Phoenix's self-doubt can border on self-sabotage. He nearly abandoned Joker too, even though it would go on to earn him his first Oscar win. Director Todd Phillips has said that Phoenix's commitment was so intense it sometimes teetered on the edge of collapse. The actor would question entire scenes, sometimes entire days, unsure if they were heading in the right direction. It wasn't ego, it was insecurity and a relentless search for truth in the character. For an actor known for total immersion, the fear of getting it wrong can be crippling. Yet Joker proved once again that when Phoenix stays the course, he produces something unforgettable.
Over the years, you will try to make sense of that happy, sad, full, always shifting life you were in. And when the time comes to return to your star, it may be hard to say goodbye.
Even on smaller, more intimate films, the same doubts surface. Mike Mills' Come On, Come On, one of Phoenix's most moving and understated performances, was another project he nearly turned down. He worried he wouldn't be able to connect with the character, a radio journalist trying to rebuild his bond with his young nephew. Mills has spoken about how Phoenix was unsure right up until shooting began, questioning whether he could deliver the emotional subtlety the role required. In the end, he stayed and delivered one of the most human performances of his career. But there are projects that no amount of persuasion could save. In 2024, Phoenix was due to star in a Todd Haynes film, a daring, erotic drama exploring a same-sex relationship in 1930s America. Sets were built, crew hired, and cameras were days from rolling. Then, with less than a week to go, Phoenix walked away. His reasons were never made public.
I gave all my sisters the script and my mom. My whole family read it, and we had a lot of discussion about it. I guess I imagine that there were no easy answers.
Though insiders described it as a mix of discomfort with the material and exhaustion from back-to-back projects. The production was left stranded, and the rumor mill churned with talk of lawsuits. Haynes, known for his patience with actors, was said to be blindsided but stopped short of criticism, merely saying the film may find its shape again one day. For Phoenix, it was one of the few occasions he truly followed through on his instinct to quit, even with millions on the line.
You're not going to act anymore?
No,
Huh. Why is that?
I don't know.
Across his career, the push and pull between brilliance and fear has defined Joaquin Phoenix. When he doubts himself, the results can be chaos, studios thrown into panic, directors forced to rethink, co-stars exasperated. But when he pushes through the doubt, the results are extraordinary. Gladiator, The Master, Her, Joker, each one is infused with the raw intensity that comes from someone teetering on the edge of control. It's as if the threat of walking away is part of his process. By flirting with the idea of quitting, Phoenix tests whether he's really ready to commit. He's spoken before about how he struggles with the responsibility of leading a film. He doesn't enjoy the attention, the press, or the rituals of Hollywood promotion. What drives him isn't fame or awards.
I couldn't fully appreciate it at the time. I now realize how fortunate I am to be a part of this community, have such reverence for
actors and what we do.
It's the internal challenge of making something truthful. That search for authenticity often brings him right to the brink of collapse. Ridley Scott once said that working with Phoenix means expecting a crisis or two, but also expecting genius. He's a perfectionist, Scott explained. He'll question everything, but he always makes it better. The contradiction at the heart of Joaquin Phoenix is that his doubt fuels his greatness. The same nervous energy that makes him want to flee also gives his performances their intensity. When he trembles, audiences feel it. When he hesitates, we sense the weight of the moment. His indecision becomes part of the drama. Few actors walk that fine line so often, or so successfully. Still, even for Phoenix, there are limits. Quitting Split and the Todd Haynes film may have protected his sanity, but they also reinforced the idea that he's unpredictable, even unreliable. In an industry built on precision scheduling and tight budgets, that reputation can be dangerous. Yet somehow, Phoenix has maintained the rare privilege of choosing when to stay and when to walk away. That freedom comes from trust, earned through decades of extraordinary work. From a young boy haunted by tragedy to one of the most admired actors of his generation, Joaquin Phoenix has lived his career in constant negotiation with himself. The words, "I can't do it," have echoed through dressing rooms, film sets, and late-night phone calls. But more often than not, he finds a way to push through, transforming fear into art. For every project he's abandoned, there are others that show what happens when he stays. Performances that redefine what acting can be. Whether that tension ever fully disappears seems unlikely. It may be part of what keeps him searching, questioning, and refusing to settle. And perhaps that's what makes him who he is, a man who could quit at any moment, but whose very hesitation keeps him endlessly fascinating.